Welcome, hunters, and thank you for tuning in to the official Monster Hunter subreddit podcast. Welcome, hunters, to the Monster Hunter subreddit podcast. I'm your host, Fortuan, joined by Ray, or Rayomis, again,
Hey.
and our guest, Shady.
Hello!
Let me try that again. And our
No,
guest,
you're
Shady.
keeping that in.
Yeah, we're going to keep it in? Okay. I could have said Geist, right?
Off to a strong start, boys.
Wow.
I'm not sure if we just gained or lost viewers.
I don't know. Alrighty, well, thanks again for joining us, and what we'd like to start off with the introductions. So, Rayomis and I have already introduced ourselves as in the first podcast. So, Shady, how about you go?
All right. Well, hello, I'm Shadyfigure. Some of you older users may remember me as Jask from Mindguard, Capcom Unity, and a few others. I think there were others.
I think I remember the Unity one, I think.
Was a while back.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've been on the subreddit since 2013. I joined a little bit after through you, I think.
Mhm.
Before that, though, I was a moderator on Mindguard, which was formerly Skies of Crota. And before that, I joined on Skies of Crimson like a month before it went down.
Unfortunate timing.
Yeah, got to meet some people, got invited to the new forum. So I've gone to Monster Hunter in 2008.
Okay.
Freedom 2. I just got a PSP, my first handheld since the Game Boy Color, and two of my closest friends got me just lent me Freedom 1 for about a week. Then on my birthday, got me Freedom 2, and then we just started playing that. We had what we called nerd nights, where we'd get together at their place and play video games and watch movies and anime for hours and hours, sometimes staying up all night.
I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah. They'd started with Monster Hunter 1. Before that, we'd been playing Phantasy Star Online together, split screen, and loving it. We saw the trailer for Monster Hunter, got really excited. Then it came out, there was no local multiplayer, so I just didn't get into it because I was really hoping for that multiplayer experience that we'd been having.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Yeah, that's such a huge part of Monster Hunter is the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because of that, like no local multiplayer, my brother and I, who traditionally my brother was my hunting partner, but as I've said, I go solo because he's kind of fallen off. But in the beginning, Monster Hunter 1, we didn't get to play together because we had to share a PlayStation, so we didn't play together until Freedom 2.
Did you guys share an account by chance, or?
No, we had separate accounts, but yeah, it was weird because we both loved the game, but we could never play together until Freedom 2.
Yeah, for sure.
So, sorry, go ahead, Shady.
What else? Alright, top monsters. Azure Athlos is probably one of them, because it's Athlos and it's blue, my favorite color.
Okay.
Okay, alright.
I thought about this yesterday. What are the others?
Now, do you like the Zarathalos fight?
Yeah, and it's fun. It's better than it was in the second gen, because it's not as elevator robotic.
Oh, yeah.
And I see people complaining about Azure Athlos all the time, and it's not that bad. They're just exaggerating. They're raging. No, it's the Talon dive. It's super easy. You see him go right up. You see him in the pose. He dives at you. You just dodge right before it hits you, or block. For you, charge blades. It was amazing. Just it's coming at me. Guard point counter.
Yep, I love it.
I need to check this guard point. I still haven't checked that video, this guard pointing thing.
Oh, it was amazing in 4U, and then Generations just destroyed it, as it did with everything with the charge blade.
Or you could have been like me and just not really been optimal at it, and they just sort of nerfed it to how I already played it. So what's your second one?
Oh man, I don't even know anymore. Gore's a really cool fight.
Okay.
There's something else I was thinking of. Diablos is the best roar, hands down, but other than that...
Okay. Well, that's 3 if you want to leave it there.
Yeah, sure.
I'm glad
There's
someone
so-
said Diablos.
Yeah, there's so many monsters anymore. It's really hard. And the question top 3 monsters, I feel like that is kind of a vague question, because if you're gonna ask like what's your top 3 fights, or your top 3 visual monsters, or your top 3.
I just
Top-
leave it open to interpretation, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with that decision. I'm just kind of like making conversation, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Trying to get us some content, scrape it out here.
Oh, right, no, I
We've got
remember
content
now.
today, don't worry.
Celtus Queen. And kind of, you have to put them two together, Celtus and Celtus Queen. It's such a really well-designed fight, and it's fun.
Oh yeah, I love.
Yeah,
the
I
noises.
agree. It is a well-designed fight.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think another monster, aside from tail cuts, feels as satisfying when you break apart as she does, breaking her face.
Oh, and she was
Yeah.
so fun to use Charge Blade on, because almost everything she had was incredibly easy to guard point.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
you'd smack her, and she'd stagger, and it would just chain.
You could
and then-
K her like butter.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was great.
So you've been talking a lot about Charge Blade. I'm gonna guess that's your favorite weapon.
It almost was. For you, I loved it, and I had to actually fight to keep it below my favorite weapon, but my favorite's just got to be dual blades. I've always loved dual wielding weapons in just any game I played. D&D, I played a rogue dual wielding. Every game that gave me an option, dual wielding. And so Monster Hunter, when I was playing it for Freedom 1, I saw that, oh, I'm going straight for that, and I did, and it's just been my most used weapon in every game.
That's awesome.
So
It's a really good weapon.
did you and Generations use the Adept style where they do the spin cut? Because I think that was one of the funnest Adept styles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like a counter attack for dodging. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I never used dual blades until Generations. I dabbled in it.
Oh, so you started with easy mode.
Well,
Yeah, pretty much.
But I don't know. I would say I started with easy mode. I started very beginning with a heavy bow gunner.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. I didn't get into bow guns until late game 3U. And when I say late game, I put in 2,300 hours into 3U, so yeah, it's like 1,000 hours into 3U I started using heavy bow gun.
I
Good.
never could get into the
That-
bow, even though I've wanted to so bad. I've always thought it looked so cool, and I wanted to do it, and I just can't. I've tried every game.
And myself, I've done it like a couple times, but it's so minimal.
Yeah.
Bow? I can get into bow. I use it a bit in a few of the games. Freedom 2 and Freedom Unite, I kind of had to use it because of Plesioth. Just grab Dragon Bow Halo and pierce lightning down it, and it's dead.
I hammered him. It wasn't fun, but I did it. So I guess we'll go ahead and move on to our news section, the news. Even though this is old news, I think it does need to be talked about at least. We got some questions about what exactly happened during E3 week. So
Hell happened.
I'll just
Yeah.
start out, and then whatever you want to interject, that's fine. Basically, the story is it starts a little before E3. We get some rumors saying that the new Monster Hunter is going to be on PS4, and I think they said exclusive.
They did.
Yeah, it's going to be exclusive to PS4, and it's going to have like
Open
the best
world.
graphics. It's open world, and there was like all this stuff that was like, that's not happening. Capcom said that's never happening, and
We've been telling people with full certainty for years, no, that's not happening. People would make posts, hey, is Monster Hunter going to be on the consoles again? No. Haha, it's Japan focuses on handhelds. They're the ones buying it. It's not happening.
And the game director has said in interviews more than once, that's not happening. He literally has said that, and I can't remember what exactly, in his interviews, but he has talked about how he doesn't think that the Monster Hunter game works in an open world environment. Now, the funny thing is, the way they've done it works because it's open map, not open world.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
the semantics there changed, and they were able to do it. Which, now people are like, haha, you said it would never work. And I'm like, well, we're still kind of right. It's not a true open world. It's
Yeah.
no segmented maps. So.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I'm not sure where along in the story it all happened, because it kind of happened really fast, but the announcement of Double Cross somewhere along the line,
that
like a
happened
day or two
before.
What?
So, yeah.
because that was definitely to some extra pain when we get to talking about what actually happened for us as moderators and stuff.
Mhm.
Like,
I think it's not just us, though. I think the whole community was hit.
yeah, that's fair.
So we have all these rumors beforehand, and E3 comes up, and everyone's watching stuff, and I'm betting most of us are looking forward to Nintendo's Direct to hear about Double Cross, possibly. So there's all these rumors and stuff, and we just kind of ignore them because, they're ridiculous. They're not going to happen. And then Monday night, Sony drops a bomb and says, hey, look at this trailer. And I think it was the only one that the president introduced himself, or was one of the few. So that made it extra surprising to me, because it's like, the Sony president is saying this. Okay, that's different. So the trailer drops, and then you get basically 3 groups of people. You get, oh my gosh, it's finally coming out on the system I remember playing it on, PSP, PlayStation, that kind of stuff. The people who didn't follow into the, past almost 10 years of Nintendo games. Then you have Nintendo fans who were like, okay, so that looks cool. What happened to the Switch version? What happened to 3DS? What happened to the stuff we were expecting? And then you have a third group of people who saw confusion and just struck.
Yeah.
I'd like to just step in with a brief story about when it happened.
Yeah.
So I had a shift at work right around that time, so I went right before the Sony conference. So I was at work, and I figured, all right, cool, I'm going to come home afterwards and see a bunch of people complaining about it not happening, and then I just have to, calm it down a little bit, and it'll be fine, and whatever, and then we'll move on and wait for Nintendo.
Mm.
So I'm closing up right when it happens, and I get one friend texting me, just super excited, Monster Hunter World, did you see? And, no, I'm at work, let me get back to this, what exactly was announced. And then Lax texts me, well, it happened. I quickly check, friend texts me back, except he didn't mention that it's PC and Xbox One, so he just said PS4 exclusive.
Mm.
So I'm driving home, and this is a 45-minute drive home from work, dreading getting home and just fuming because, A, I think it's on PS4 only. I can't play it. I'm not home enough to be on a PS4. And B, I am dreading coming home, getting online, dealing with the fallout, and dealing with all these people rubbing in my face and saying, I told you so. About halfway home, Lux texts me again saying, yeah, get ready for a dozen people telling you I told you so.
Yeah, there was a couple people that did, and they were, I think one in particular was like, oh, well, it's going to knock Shady off his high horse. And I was like, no, dude, Shady is saying the exact same stuff that Capcom was saying, I've been saying, everyone else has been saying. He's not being high-horsed about it.
Yeah, so I got back. There were only 7 messages on Reddit from notifying me that people were rubbing my face in it. But there was the fallout.
Gosh. I didn't even know, I wasn't even on top of the ball at all. I wasn't I didn't even like know E3 was going on, to be honest. I had too much other stuff going on. And then like when it dropped, I had like 6 different people message me and they all were like, Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter, did you hear? Did you hear? And some of those people don't even play, they just know I play. So I was just getting blown up with this. And then this is my first experience with moderating, period. And I have never experienced moderating like that. It was insane. Literally, it was like beforehand we went to like maybe a report every couple weeks or something, and then it was something like that, and then it was every couple days, and then literally like probably a realistic number, like 500 a day or something like that for like 2 days straight.
Oh yeah, there would be stretches where it's like every 1 or 2 minutes, new notification pop up, new notification pop up.
Oh my gosh. And we're doing our best, like a small group of dudes who like one or two of us has like some serious moderating experience, and then the other we're just like some dudes that like Monster Hunter. And we're like, oh my god, how are we gonna handle this?
I mean,
I was a moderator on Mindguard for 2009, so about 4 or 5 years, maybe 6.
Okay.
Yeah, it was never this, and we had some issues, but nothing like that.
Yeah, that was unreal. But I mean, regarding like Monster Hunter as a series, it's encouraging because I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger, so obscure to like anyone I knew, basically. Like if I didn't tell them about Monster Hunter, they'd never heard of it, weren't gonna get into it. And I'm lucky that I had some friends who did get into it with me, but it's come so much further than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah, and I'm happy for that. I'm happy that Monster Hunter World is potentially going to even push that further.
Yeah.
Even if I'm a little worried about some of the things, which I'm not anymore, I definitely was at first.
Yeah, same. I was as well, especially with the first trailer.
Yeah. It's trailer syndrome, really. This showed off everything new, so we didn't get to see a lot of actual combat, which is, the real meat and potatoes.
Definitely meant to draw in new people, which on that front, I think it actually probably did a good job. But for
it made a
veterans,
lot of
all the veterans are like, "Whoa, what is this?" It's much different.
And I think the last thing that happened, as far as like the news of what happened, went down. Of course, ever since we've been dealing with trolls and high emotion and that kind of stuff. But the next thing that happened was rumors of Double Cross not coming to the U.S. despite it already being announced for the Switch in Japan. Now, that's something I was a little bit more concerned about once I calmed down for Monster Hunter World. And I don't know, you guys probably saw it, but I had this giant heartfelt post because I was... from the beginning of Monster Hunter, back in the Monster Hunter 1 days, I don't know who it was I played with, but I did have one online friend, and him and I made it a point to always be polite, always be kind to each other and other hunters, despite how ragey they would get fighting Diablos or, broken Plesioth mechanics or anything. And personally, I think that we have a really great community, and I want to keep that. And I kind of saw that falling apart E3 week. And I wanted to reach out and say, guys, we are here together. We've been here since, some of us 2004, some of us today. Either way, we're all hunters. We're here to hunt, and we help each other. We don't do this. Please don't do this. And like I tried to explain that even though I could be hurt by it too, because I was very interested in Double Cross, because I've been a fan since 2004. I've played every game. I've been through the not getting a game for, what was it you said, Shady? 5 years?
3.
3? Okay.
3 between try and 3U.
Yeah. So we've gone through some droughts in the outside of Japan for games, and you get kind of worried about localization, and you have to sort of like fight to get the game over to the United States sometimes, or at least it feels that way. And to see that happen all over again, where no, you're not getting it, kind of sucked. But the next level of that is the fact that Cross and Double Cross are meant to celebrate Monster Hunter. It was the 10-year anniversary for Cross, and it's just more celebration of that anniversary with Double Cross. And that's what the developers said. This is a celebration of Monster Hunter. And now we potentially can't be a part of that. And that really upset me, because I kind of felt left out because I'm not Japanese.
Yeah, but like you said before, it's feeling left out is one thing, and being hurt, that's okay. But it's a matter of how you handle that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lashing out's not the way. And like you said, the Monster Hunter community, I feel, in my experience, has always been pretty good.
Yeah.
I think you find that with harder skill curve games. Another good example, I know Monster Hunter and Dark Souls get compared pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, back when Dark Souls came out, people on it was V at that point on Fortuan, would say, oh yeah, the Monster Hunter generals, these are some of the nicest, calmest, most civil and helpful generals I've seen. And then Dark Souls came out, and people were saying the same thing in those threads.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's something
now,
about fight. Yeah, well, I think tensions are just high right now.
Yeah,
but I think that with a game like Monster Hunter or Dark Souls, when it's challenging to that degree, and everybody's been through the same struggles, get too philosophical, but that's what can bring people together in a bonding experience. Somebody posts, I'm having trouble with this monster. Other people understand. I've totally been there, man. Let me explain what I did to get past that hurdle. And it
also helps that Monster Hunter, it's co-op focused. There's no competitive form. We're all working together on it. Yep. And Dark Souls has a big part of that too, with the cooperation.
Yeah, they do it through the story. So it's such a bare bones story, but people work together to figure it out. I think that's a cool way to do it.
For sure. So, I don't know. I still have high hopes for the community.
Oh, I do too. I don't know. It was disheartening at that moment.
Tensions were high. I was like, are we going to recover from this? But I think for the most part, we have recovered. It does seem like we've been dealing with a lot more trolls lately, but it hasn't been bad. It hasn't been bad. Hasn't been not worth it by any means.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't want to have anything else to add to that kerfuffle.
No, I think we pretty much covered it. It's a good addition on the behavioral aspect of it. I think that's definitely something that needed to be addressed.
Yeah.
Okay. From there, we'll move into the topics, and we'll start out with our guest, Shady.
Always me first. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So from my topic, I decided to talk about the history of Monster Hunter communities. As I'd mentioned, I started with Skies of Crimson right before it ended. Before that, I'd like to talk a bit about some of our listeners might not remember or might not have been around at that point, why Skies of Crimson started. Before that, the big community for Monster Hunter Online was GameFAQs. And the reputation that has kind of carried forward. It's still got that reputation. Trolls, get good, scrub, hit them. How do I defeat this monster? Hit it till it dies, don't get hit.
You still see that now.
Wow, so helpful.
So a few people from the community there decided they were sick of that and they want to make somewhere new for people to escape that and have better conversation about Monster Hunter. This created, at that time, I believe it was called Peaceful Blue Skies or something along those lines. And as it started to get formed, it changed to Skies of Crimson. And that went on for a while, and it got really big and became the big place to go for Monster Hunter. People know that community has helpful people, friendly people. They've got some great guides, great information. They've got weapon trees. And that started to get bigger. Then the bandwidth use got a bit big, and he started having issues paying for the hosting. The community joined together and donated a bunch of money to help him pay for that. And that worked for a little bit, and then he just vanished.
Oh,
Just
man.
out of nowhere, he vanishes. This is a little bit later, maybe like a month or a couple of months after that had happened. He vanishes, and then the site just goes away too, because he wasn't there to pay for hosting or anything.
Was nobody able to like pick up this? Like, was it literally impossible to pick up that Slack? Like,
Yeah, he was the only one with admin privileges, and no one else really even realized what was happening at that point.
oh geez.
And there were
Just
people
one
that
day, just
actually
goes
knew
down.
him and had phone numbers to contact him with, and they couldn't get a hold of him.
Wow.
It's a big mystery, yeah. So that happened, and then there were a couple weeks of uncertainty and just people wandering around. There were like 2 or 3 forums made by people trying to fill in the space. But then a couple of the moderators from Skies of Crimson, including Hot Gamer Mom, I believe Adeline, and 1 or 2 others, decided to make a new site to fill in the space. That got called Skies of Crota, being a joke from one of the other mods on Skies of Crimson being Crota. So Crota's the new boss. He wasn't actually. They didn't even ask him about this. They just made it, and then someone tells him about it, and he joins. So, yeah, I was fortunate enough to run into Violet Kira on one of the other forums, and she said, "Hey, they made this one. Come check it out." For those who aren't aware, Violet Kira was the one who made the original Kira Nico. It was her and her friend Nico, and she was a big part of the community back then too. And so yeah, we had Skies of Crota, and we started
I didn't know
building.
that's how it was pronounced.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
said Karashio or something like that.
No, it's Kira Nico, Violet Kira, and then Nico, who I think might have been from Japan. And so
See,
it's,
that makes more sense.
yeah, Kira Nico.
I thought it was Karonico.
Nope. At least that's how I'm pronouncing it. That's, I guess, going in again to the whole Monster Hunter pronunciations.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, we get together, we start working on Skies of Crota, and that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It gets to the size that Skies of Crimson used to be. It helped that the people that were the admins had also been the people that were working on the Monster Hunter Portable 2nd G English patch. And so people were coming in there from that. People were showing up because we had save conversion forums. Post your save, because you could easily do that with the PSP.
Mhm.
We'll switch it from Freedom 2 to Portable 2nd, so you can import it into Portable 2nd G.
Oh,
And then
nice.
we had tons of people coming in for that. At one point, I think our user list was like 50K. Granted,
Wow.
a lot of those people just showed up, got their saves converted, and then left. So
I was not one of
yeah.
those people. I started over.
I was in good with all the people that were doing all that sort of stuff, the conversion. I got to watch people come together and make the save converter for that. So I got to see that. I was in with
Wow.
them, and so they just, here's the tools. Cool. I can convert mine. I can convert all my friends. Done.
Nice.
Yeah, that was also where Athena ADP showed up. He
Okay.
was, the person who makes Athena's armor set simulator or search.
Freaking legend.
Yeah. At one point during Skies of Crota, he makes a post in the video game forum. Hey, my friends and I are making this game, and it's just being released now. Path of Exile.
Oh,
Oh, jeez.
what? So the guy
Yeah.
who makes Armor Set Search made Path of Exile?
Yup, he was one of the core team that makes that.
Oh, wow.
That is freaking crazy.
I'm a huge Diablo fan, and I like Path of Exile. I just like Diablo more. So, but that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
We had Mazarin over there. He was big on Mind Guard. TM10 admired Fob. So there were a bunch of people that were huge in the community at that point over there. Hot Gamer Mom was doing the patch, doing a ton of converting. So yeah, I ended up becoming a mod there because I was one of the most active users, and I was really helpful there because I just love answering questions, looking stuff up, and helping people.
Yeah.
Eventually, we decided we want to move out of the shadow from Skies of Crimson because we'd become our own big thing and become bigger than it. So we changed the name from Skies of Crimson to Skies of Crota to Mindguard, the name of the online city in Monster Hunter 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Around
when you first mentioned that during this conversation, I looked it up and I immediately had memories of that city. Like, I remember like the sales coming on, like I don't even know if it was like weekly or random or whatever, but you go to the little side area and they would be like, "Oh, today's a sale day." I'm like, yes,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I just remember the tavern mostly
yeah,
and the blacksmith.
so in 2013, or right at the end of 2012, right when 3U was announced,
Yep.
Capcom and Capcom NA did some events where you could come down, see some stuff about 3U, play the demo. So I went down there because their office was like 2.5 hours from me, maybe 3. So just drove down, went to that, got to meet Yuri, and they mentioned, oh yeah, come check out the forums. So I figured, all right, I'll check out Capcom Unity. Got to see the forums there, was answering questions there as well. Is there another forum? There was Reign of the Rathalos was another somewhat big Monster Hunter community, but that ended up dying for some reason. The Wikia was there, but there was a bit of a reputation there. Not quite the same as GameFAQs, but the Wikia
It wasn't a good
entirely.
platform. That's where I was, and it was mostly just guides, and there wasn't a lot of discussion there. But there was discussion pages. It just wasn't meant for that. So
yeah. I never used the wiki as a discussion board. I never used any discussion board until Reddit. I was always a researcher whenever I was hunting. That's what
But then
this
the wiki
Monsters
also
Week
had the
did.
reputation of not being an accurate site, as evidenced by 3U. Kiriniko comes out, and yeah, there's a bit of a mantra. The Wikia sucks, use Kiriniko. And
Yeah, I didn't even.
I was
I
already
would
out of the
pretty much-
Wikia by then.
I would just Google search like whatever I'm looking and whatever came up first. I'm not a very picky kind of fella.
oh right, one of the main things that brought people to Skies of Crimson and then Skies of Crota, the weapon trees. At that point, the only weapon trees outside of the site were the type that you'd see on GameFAQs, where they had that really awkward,
I recall them like the big PDF files.
Yeah.
big blobs, and it was like horizontal but layered. Not a very efficient way to display them. But
Right.
then someone on MindGuard decided they'd make the what's now become the standard, the tree diagram setup and the vertical one.
Mm-hmm.
And so people would come to us for the weapon trees.
Yeah.
I think the Wiki adopted those or ripped them off.
Oh,
at
yeah,
least.
after a while, everyone just started using those
Yeah.
because it fit Monster Hunter better.
Yeah, I always liked to look at weapon trees.
I don't.
So-
I like being surprised.
Really?
Yep. I
That's
make
how-
everything.
Oh,
God.
I'm such a
Every
researcher
game I
with
make-
these games.
Every pair of dual blades in
Yeah.
every game. That's one of my goals, and I've been doing it. Though I'm a bit behind on generations.
Yeah, I do everything of whatever weapon I'm using at the time. And like I've said before, Reyomis, most of the time it was hammers.
Yeah.
And then recently it's been charge blade. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm real targeted. I'll pick an armor set and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this going. And then I want this hammer because it has the highest damage when you're considering also the sharpness versus the affinity and the slots you get and how many slots I need to get the things I want. So I'm very, very targeted. I don't make a lot of stuff.
Well,
Oh,
since
that
it's
works.
supposed to be a discussion, did you guys have any questions about the history of Monster Hunter communities?
No, you pretty much covered most of my questions personally.
Well, we've already been over this, but I know you don't remember me. I wasn't anything big back then, but I was around. Definitely in the Unity forums and the Wikia. But is there anyone on the sub that you particularly recognize that you're willing to talk about?
Anyone I recognize from back then?
Yeah.
Violet Kira was around on the sub for a little bit, but didn't stay around very long. She got really busy with life.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a couple of the others pop in briefly. I think Nymeria. I know Hot Gamer popped on a bit. Kogoth, he pops on now and then. He's bigger on like Facebook and Twitter. He was on MindGuard.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? I've seen a few others. Biscuit. There have been a few people, and there's been several times where people will post on the subreddit, oh shit, you're a Jask, right? From Mindguard? Yeah, and then we'll talk briefly and I'll recognize them, or sometimes I won't, because there are so many people.
Didn't it happen in the question thread?
Oh yeah, like once or twice at least.
Yeah, because I saw one
Oh,
before.
the question thread for the
Yeah.
podcast, not the weekly one. Oh, yes, that was Biscuit. He got involved in a bit of the drama here and there. He was very, pushy, not, like he'd push boundaries here and there.
Okay.
Nice guy though. He was part of one of the groups that has been on Mindguard for a while. He said, please, when am I going to be unbanned from hashtag SOCB? That was the IRC channel for Mindguard, Skies of Crimson B, I think it was meant to be. This stuff happened, he probably got banned at some point. Wouldn't surprise me. Of course, now with Mindguard being dead, it's empty. I don't even know if I could go back and get privileges to do that. I'm not even sure if the channel's still there.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, that was all I had.
Okay, so then I'll do my topic next. I wanted to talk about tips and tricks for new hunters, because with worlds coming out and it really hopefully garnering a new audience, there's a lot to learn about this game, and I've always felt that the beginner curve is really steep and something that acts as a bar to new players getting in. So I just hoped maybe we could knock some ideas around, and maybe someone who's new to the game could pick up something they haven't heard. And if that happens, then it will have been a good topic in my mind.
Okay.
So I guess when I'm trying to get somebody into the game, some of the first thing, and I said this last week, that one of the first things that I talk about is weapons. Every weapon has its place for the most part. And I encourage people to try all the weapons and really do some research on what each weapon brings to the table. A couple examples of that would be to just do some really loose summarizations of the weapons. And you guys obviously feel free to interject if you disagree or have something to add. But so the sword and shield is one of its shining points is that you can use an item while you're blocking with the shield. Really valuable for team play. I've always felt it gives a bit of a supporty element. You can pop a life powder for a friend in a pinch, do a quick flash bomb to save someone.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Really useful. The hammer, when attacking the head of monsters, you can potentially knock a monster out, which is like a free trap because it's CC that hasn't been used before. And on that note, crowd control. Whenever you use a particular form of crowd control, such as a shock trap or a pitfall trap or a flash bomb, two things to remember are the state of the monster matters for the duration. So what that means is if the monster's drooling, it's exhausted, and the trap, flash bomb, whatever, will last longer. If the monster's raging, it lasts for a shorter duration.
Or it's immune.
If you've used it before. Yeah, or it's immune. Good, very good point, depending on the monster.
Elatrian being immune to flash bombs when it's flying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, didn't even know that. See, for so long, and there's still stuff to learn. So when you're using something for the second time, if the second shock trap or the second pitfall trap won't last as long.
Yeah.
So other weapon points to bring in, the lance. Lance is another one of my favorites. Monsters have different types of damage that affects them differently at different places. So most monsters take more damage from impact if you hit them in the face. Most monsters take more damage from cutting if you hit them in the tail. The lance does the best damage type no matter where you're attacking with it. So
there is one stipulation to that.
Please do tell.
Lance will use the higher hit zone of cutting or impact times 0.72.
Okay.
So it'll use a better of cutting or impact at a penalty. This actually makes it so that in, I think it was 4 Euro generations, one of the more recent ones, this effect actually only came up like a dozen times, maybe 24 at most, across all the body parts of all the monsters.
Really? Interesting. I didn't know that. But
yeah. But it still makes a difference, yeah.
It makes a huge difference. So like, and knowing little things, little tips like these, and honestly, we could go on and on and on. And I think for any of the listeners out there, if you have any questions about any aspect of the game, the subreddit is the place to ask these questions. Any aspect of the game, there's probably something you don't know. You're having trouble with something, there's probably some little tip or trick, some mechanic exploit that you can use to gain that advantage. But on the note of the lance, knowing that, it kind of can change your playstyle to the point that it doesn't so much matter if you're using the lance where you hit the monster. That's kind of its selling point. And I'm trying to think of other tips and tricks.
For lance specifically, or for all of them?
Just for anything, not even just weapons, anything and everything. Like another one I just thought of, the steak song. Okay, when we had the community question, so somebody mentioned something about the steak song, and they were talking about how they had trouble getting the Poogie song, and the Poogie song and the steak song are the same if you're trying to get it like well done steak timing, if you will.
Yep.
And I have always done it. There's a beat to the song, and I'm sure you're gonna play the track. So
I could, yeah.
Definitely. There's a beat to the song, and if you follow that beat, and I tap my foot along with the beat, and exactly 2 beats after the song ends, on that second beat is when you press A, and every time you will get it successful. But then again, in the recent games, they've made it so you don't really have to deal with cooking well done steaks, and Poogie doesn't actually give you good luck. So
it never did.
Never did. I agree.
Yeah.
The director or producer confirmed in an interview it never did.
It's still a nice legend.
Where did that even begin?
I
don't.
Monster Hunter 1
ish. Monster Hunter 1. Wow.
Well, yeah, it was 1.
I guess I don't ever actually remember being told that or reading it anywhere, but I believed it. My friends believed it.
You see, you get the timing right, and you see this big heart and all this flashing. It seems like it's showing that something good's gonna happen, and so you try and figure out, all right, what does this mean? Because you're doing that a lot with Monster Hunter. Why is there this big
that's
sign?
true.
And so you check your stats. My attack hasn't gone up. What could it be? Maybe it's a sign of luck.
Yeah, that's so accurate.
So is that why you like the blue Rathalos then? Because it's trying to kill a Poogie in the promotional art?
I'd forgotten about that. Cool little tidbit with that. I remember back around 2nd gen, someone talking this, because that came up a lot, because quite frequently we'd get posts from people asking about it, and actually people thought that it actually did affect drops. That was a really common thing.
Mm-hmm.
One person who spoke Japanese had actually gone through Japanese forums and stuff and sites, and yeah, they thought that too. They moved on from it because of a director's thing and lots of testing. Then they started looking at other things that happen in the background that might signify things like that. And there was one theory at one point that the birds that pop in through the windows in your house in Freedom 2, that those might be a sign of if you're going to get better drops or not.
Interesting. I remember the birds, but I never remember thinking anything of them.
Yeah, I never saw anything in the Western sites about people even suggesting that, except for that one person who mentioned, oh yeah, there's a discussion on the Japanese forums about if that might be a thing.
Huh.
So, I did have a couple tips and tricks that I do like to say, and one of them is, and I wasn't joking when I said this, I always try to remind people of the hot air balloon. Newer hunters, they don't really know the monster patterns quite yet. They don't know where the monster starts, or they've lost track of it or something, forgot to use a paintball. If the hot air balloon is on the map and you use the wave gesture, it does a psycho serum effect on the monster.
Yeah, super useful.
So that's good for tracking down a monster if you happen to lose track of it. And one other tip that I'm going to say, and it's probably going to cause some problems because people don't like it, but if you're playing against Garuga, don't stand in front of it. That's how you don't get hit from instant charges.
Oh, what about the insta pivot turn where he jams his face in the ground?
Well, he turned.
There's-
That's the tell.
Yeah.
That's why you don't
Also,
stand right in
That
front
one
of him.
gives a lot of trouble because he does 2 packs.
Yeah.
And if you block the first one, huge stamina drop, you're probably going to get hit by the other one. You might dodge the first one, then the second one hits you.
Yep.
Dodge under him. Either dodge away so you have enough distance, or go towards his legs so you can go under him and then keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I know that a lot of people don't like Garuga, and I get it. He's a tough monster, but
I never
It's-
really found him to be problematic. I never had issues with it
Yeah, nor did I.
until level 136 plus guild question for you. Then I saw, oh, this is what people are talking about.
well, yeah, they've
still-
exaggerated the problems at that point.
But yeah, I never found it too bad, but then I didn't play Freedom 1 enough to get to him. That's apparently where he was a real demon.
And that's how I knew how to fight him, is from that. I did have Freedom 1, and it was actually kind of interesting because even though I have played every game since the first game, there was a period of about maybe 2 years I didn't play, and so I caught Freedom 1 at the end of its life, but I still played it. And Garuga was definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, what I remember about that way back then was how strong the gear was from the Garuga.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous.
When
But-
Garuga is basically taking a Kutku and giving it steroids.
Yeah, they look really similar. It's a Yain Garuga, I think.
Yep.
They'll call it that. Yeah.
Yep, Yan Kutku, Yan Garuga.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we got monster pronunciations again. I say Yin.
Hang on, let me pull up the Japanese name.
Oh, you're probably right. I'm not even going to fight
And
that.
that doesn't really matter that much because the names change a lot. Rathalos is Leolios or something along those lines.
Oh, Yeah.
Oh, then my fucking favorite,
Mm-hmm.
Lavasioth. His
Oh.
Japanese name was Volganos.
Yes.
Then in the English translation, they just took Plesioth and replaced the first half of it with lava.
Yep.
We were
Yeah.
a bit upset with that when the localization was announced. Oh god, yeah, the patch. I got to listen to the patch team complaining about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Vulcan-
talk about bad name transitions. Nibble Snarf.
I was upset with that one at first.
It's
Then I
cute.
learned a bit more about the etymology of it, and I found, oh no, this is actually kind of cool because
Yeah.
it's not nibble, Nibble.
It's Nibble, right?
Yes, which comes from the German word Nibbel, or Nebel. I don't know German enough to pronounce it, but it's Nebel, which means smoke or fog.
Huh.
Which in World War II, they had the Nebelwerfer, the smoke launcher. It was a smokescreen launcher. You stick a smoke bomb in it, it launches it like a mortar, and it sets down a smoke bomb. This later got they realized, oh, we don't have to just stick smoke bombs in it, we just stick mortars in it and fire it. So that
Wow.
explains why Nibblesnarf's armor is military themed.
Yeah.
Well, I
that-
really
that's
kind of
really
does
cool.
it because that was after the localization, but yeah, it's still a connection there. So I like the name because of that.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
All right. Did you have any more to say on tips and tricks?
Go ahead.
Sure. I'm sure we could think of some, but we could do that all night. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Watch how much hit lag and how much blood happens when you hit a monster. The more hit lag, more blood, the weaker that part is to raw damage.
Yes.
Armor skills, very important. You can find explanations of that plenty of times.
You
Do
made-
the
you made me
offline
think.
quests.
I agree.
That just made me think of armor sets. That's something I see new players do a lot. It's so important to keep your sets uniform in the beginning of the game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You don't want to have
You
a
just
piece
built
of
new arm
Rathalos armor
guard.
on your
Alright,
head.
switch to the new piece. No.
Right.
no.
Yeah, the skills are.
No, you keep your set until the set is complete.
Yeah.
All right, I'm content with the tips and tricks part.
Okay.
I've got a whole copy pasta for that. So yeah.
Well,
The
that's what I
one
was
thing.
concerned
Yeah.
about is like there's a lot that can be said through the sub more than us talking about on the podcast.
Yeah.
The
But-
big thing I feel should be brought up though is with all the stuff that world is changing, some of these tips might not apply anymore. So we can give people
True.
tips about the games that if they're going to jump into generations or for you or an even older game, but if they're asking for tips for when they play world, we can
Yep.
say what we know now, but some of it could change.
Like, don't stand in front of the monster.
That one might not change. Not anytime soon. Or at least I hope not. That would, if that changes, then
Well, the best place to stand in front of Rathian when you're using Blade Master is in front of it.
Yeah, I know.
Granted,
I'm
it's
just
at
being
like a
facetious.
45
Yeah.
degree angle to the side, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
right.
That is a good point. World could change a lot.
Yeah.
And
And
there
it
are already
doesn't-
reports that people saying that the blood splat effect is gone. I didn't look close enough to see that, but also it could be something that just hasn't been put in yet.
Yeah, we're editing because
Yeah.
it is a worldwide reveal trailer, and they want to keep the
Mm.
ESRB rating down.
Because they used to cut the blood level down for the Western releases.
Yes, and that might be what it is. It might be an
Mm.
option too.
Yeah, because they did add that option later on.
What was it What was it rated when we got it?
Teen.
Yeah,
Teen?
I think it's always been teen.
Yep.
Japan, I think it's been 16.
Mhm.
Though in more recent games that might have dropped because it's been getting really popular with the younger audience over there too.
That's what we have Monster Hunter stories for.
Yeah, and apparently they didn't want that. They want real Monster Hunter like siblings.
Yeah. No surprise there.
Yeah. Stories sales were abysmal in Japan.
Yeah, we'll see if it picks up here.
Hopefully.
I'm still buying it, even though I
Same.
won't play it.
I will, but we'll see how long.
I got the Switch and the 3DS just died for me. It's gone. Doesn't exist. I think that's a pretty good wrap up on that topic.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So I know I talked about this a little bit last week, and you guys, of course, know my grandfather did pass away between the last podcast and now. In fact, it happened before the first one released. But the reason why I bring that up is he was really big into music. His whole life, he played the trumpet or the cornet. It switches between the two, but they're pretty much the same instrument. And a big aspect for Monster Hunter has always been the music to me. And my grandfather is the one who helped me appreciate music. I would have never cared about music in any form if it hadn't been for him. And so I kind of wanted to honor him and use this topic to talk about Monster Hunter music. And there is, even though it's not huge here in the West and all the popular like remix sites like OC Remix and that kind of stuff, you don't see any Monster Hunter there, but the Japanese scene definitely has a lot of Monster Hunter remixes and fan music, and then of course the music in the game is also very serviceable and very good, especially some of the monster themes. So what I wanted to talk about is maybe just some of our favorite songs from Monster Hunter and favorite remixes and that kind of stuff. So I do want to talk about first the village themes. So the village themes have always been really good. And for me, it's always been a toss-up between Portable Third's Yukomo, is that how you say it? Yukomo Village, and Freedom 2, Freedom 2G, or Freedom Unite, I guess.
Poke is one of my
Village theme.
favorites. Oh my.
And those are really good, both of them.
I would have to say that I can't think of any of the music to just offhand, but when I hear it, it's immediate nostalgia.
Oh yeah, Poke Village and the second gen Guild Hall for me, so much, because that's when I got into it, and I spent 1,000 hours in Freedom 2, 1,000 hours in Freedom Unite, and then that was when I was getting to play with my two best friends who got me into the series so much. We spent so much time just hanging out together, playing those games and hanging out in the guild hall while one person changed their gear. So that music, it's just so big to me. And
I do want to give a shout out to, was it Try's Guild Hall? That's sort of like
a tavern sort of, yeah.
Yeah, the tavern one that had that really, I don't know what it almost sounded like a bagpipe, but it wasn't. It was something like that, just going constantly. I was like, that guy's turning blue right now playing that song. So yeah, I think the village theme, it's pretty much cut and dry for the most part. Most people like Poke or the Yakumo. Sorry.
Names are hard. The other one I really liked was Cathar in 4U, because it had that real same chill, calm, relaxing feel that Poke had.
Yep, it's a good one for sure. It seems like for the village, the relaxing ones are the best.
Yeah.
I can't remember what is the name of the one in 4U that was the volcano area, the
Hearth.
I didn't like that one. That was like the one I just didn't care for.
Yeah, I wish I had more to comment on it, but it's like I can't recall a single one except for like the music and like the stuff you hear all the time.
Yeah.
But then when I hear them, I'm like, oh, this song. But I guess as far as noises go, the old granny sticks out to me so much.
the quest giver,
No, the old granny backpack lady.
Oh, peddling granny, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did she have a name? Can't remember if she did or not.
Granny something.
Granny Go-To.
Yeah, Granny Go-To.
Huh. Interesting.
Yep.
So,
oh man.
From there, I wanted to talk about maybe the best song, just from Monster Hunter, and I almost want to say it just has to be Proof of a Hero. It's what we played at the beginning of the podcast. It's pretty much the most iconic Monster Hunter song. But
I completely agree, 100%.
I might, and it's really great. It has that strong emphasis, but I've been just loving Brachydios' theme ever since 3U.
Huh.
It's got such a dynamic feel to it, and the pace, the tempo, and I don't know music terms too well, so I can't say too much, but why I like it, but I just love it. And it fits with his fight too, because he also has a sort of swinging, dynamic feel to him, and it was so different from other monsters' movement styles before.
It is definitely a good theme for a monster. It has that low, sort of like swingy jazz, but it's done with lower brass instruments like
have you heard the swing arrange for it?
Yeah, I was actually going to get to that. I actually have a story about that CD. So I guess that's it for really best song. It's not really a lot to discuss on these, but just talking about the music in general is what I wanted to do.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that'll make for good discussion for anyone who listens when to chime in.
So I have on the list best remix, but let me skip that and go to the best monster theme, since we sort of touched on that with Brachydios. That's what I call it. But yeah, I agree that that's a really good theme. But also
White Fatalis is really good.
Oh yes, the very epic, almost chanting, right?
Yeah, and it also has kind of a chill feel to it, like a lot of villages, still with a bit of danger and mysticism to it, and then the chanting comes in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when it comes in, you're like, whoa, okay, we're getting serious now, guys. I did want to call a shout out to Zenogre's theme.
It's also quite good, yes.
The very heavy metal, like, we're doing this.
I've always liked Mitsuzune. Like, that's the only one that I can say has stuck out to me. It's so unique compared to the other songs, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's got its own style, for sure. It kind of goes along with the, I don't even remember the name of the map now. that he appears in.
Misty Peaks.
Yeah, the Misty Peaks. That has that very Japanese style of music going on it. And
That's pretty much my aesthetic, so...
Yeah, and then Mitsune kind of takes off with that a little bit different direction, but it's still in that same style. And it's really good. I do like it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Cedius's music.
You know, I don't actually remember that one.
Really?
Yeah.
The really heavy chanting from
Yeah.
Boys
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Tribe.
you're right.
I
Yeah.
hated that fight. That was such a bad fight.
It's a terrible fight, but just like White Fatalis, terrible fight, great music.
Yep. Makes it worth
I
it.
never...
Maybe if you're using cluster guns.
No, I used hammer.
I
Kelby
got
Bow.
so sick of that damn fight in Freedom Unite. It got to the point where I refused to fight White Fatalis unless it was a bunch of us cluster spamming with the Yamatsukami bowgun, because I didn't want to go through 4 rounds for 1 kill. Again.
Yeah, it was a tough fight. Crimson wasn't.
It wasn't
that
even
easy.
that hard as long
Yeah.
as you had these people. It was just long and tedious, and you had to do it so much.
Yeah, it was, but at least it did have a good track to go with it.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just move on to the best remix part, and that's where I kind of want to get into that Monster Hunter Swing CD. So, like I was talking about, there is a big remix for video game music scene. Even in the United States, if you ever go to the website OC Remix, they've got thousands of songs of remixes, but no Monster Hunter. Fortunately, there's some really good CDs that came out of Japan that do have some great remixes. Well, some people
Those
really
were
like,
official, too, yeah.
yeah, and some people really like the Black Loot. I'm not into heavy metal, so it's like the metal remixes of the songs.
Yeah. I like Black Loot.
Yeah, it's just not my kind of music.
Yeah.
But the one I do like, and the one that does make me think of my grandfather, is the swing stuff, because the swing stuff has a lot of brass in it. And the funny story I wanted to talk about is I heard this a long time ago. I mean, this CD gets linked on the sub at least once a month. You see it all the time. People are like, hey, did you hear like the Brachydius theme from the Swing? And it's like, well, yes, I have. I actually physically own the CD because I love it so much. I heard about it a long time ago. I want to say it was probably 2013 is when I first heard it. And I immediately went to, I want to say Amazon, and tried to, I think it was Amazon, and I bought it online, but it was coming from Japan. And I called my bank because I knew that I had never bought anything overseas and it was going to be a problem. I was like, please allow this transaction through. I am authorizing a transaction that's going to come in from Japan. I am buying a CD. Not only did they not allow the transaction, they froze my account.
Oh.
And I was like, how did you screw this up so bad? Because I did that. I go out to lunch and I go to pay for my lunch and my card is declined. And I'm like, what do I do? Like, how am I supposed to pay for lunch now? Of course, I was out with a friend and he picked it up for me and I paid him back later. But it was like really embarrassing to like, why is my card declined? And I called my bank and it was like, well, we got suspicious activity of you ordering something from Japan and you don't live in Japan, so we blocked it and locked your account just to be sure. And I was like, are you stupid? I called in specifically to allow that. I know it's coming. I bought it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't even like that expensive, although the shipping fee was horrible. It ended up being close to $50 once everything was said and done.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a lot, but it was worth it because I own that CD. And in particular, my favorite songs are I'm going to mess it up again. The Yukomo?
Yukumo.
Yukomo. Cool. That one. That village theme. and the Poke Village theme, especially the Poke one, which I'll probably end up playing during the intro of this section. Way more laid back. It's almost like a jazz lounge kind of sound to it. And the thing is, to me, it's like a really emotional song. So, it's kind of weird, but whenever I'm sad about something, I listen to that song a lot. Of course, with my grandfather passing away, I listened to that song like pretty much on repeat that Monday that Monster Hunter World dropped. And then a long time ago, we're talking like 3 years ago almost now, I had to sort of like I used to have 4 animals in the house, and it went down to 1 in a matter of 2 weeks. 2 of them we just had to surrender because we had a new baby. She ended up being allergic to cats, so we had to give them away. And then the one that hit me is my one of 2 dogs died. And I just listened to that thing on repeat, like constantly. I was like, I'm just going to get these emotions out, and you're going to help me do it, Poke.
And you go back and just chill in the snowy village in your mind.
Yep, that nice, safe, cozy place where it's like slightly snowing, and you know the hope for the future is there, but it's still comfy. So I really wanted to talk about the music in the game because it's really good. I don't think that the Western audience has really appreciated it quite yet, but they'll get there.
I'm going to be listening more closely to it from now on.
Yeah, well, I hope someone does, because it's really good music. Like almost
the
everything.
Try soundtrack is actually available on Google Play for North America at least. And I just remember there has actually been one big remix for Monster Hunter in the West. I'll link it and we can post that with the cast. It actually got recognition from Capcom North America. Yuri retweeted it, posted about it, and there's a music video. It was from an artist called Erdogan.
Oh yes.
And yeah, Hunter's Mark.
It's on my favorites on YouTube.
Yeah, that was quite good. And going through again one of her albums because of that.
She also did a this is unrelated to Monster Hunter, but she also did the Fruits Basket theme.
I haven't watched that in so long.
And I'm not really big into anime. Of course, last podcast I was saying stupid anime crap, but I am into that. I did like Fruits Basket, and I did like that song, and I heard she did a remix for it, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, I didn't mention anything last podcast, but I freaking love anime.
I don't mean to insult people. That was just me and my teenage bias when I saw the game.
Yeah, I didn't take it that way, but I just blew $50 on anime shirts today, and I'm wearing an Ichiraku ramen shirt right now, so
I
get
really
accused.
wasn't catching up on Symphogear before we started the cast.
Yeah, I mean, my wife's big into it. My wife loves anime. She's watched so much, and I'm just not. If I have a choice between watching anything and playing a game, it's always play a game.
Yeah, to each their own, for sure.
Yeah, and there's nothing against if you like anime. It was just, again, it's just my thought process as a younger kid. I do get accused of liking nothing but anime because all of my Monster Hunter shirts get accused for being anime, which I'm like, the little nerd of me comes out. It's actually a video game.
From Japan, but it's not Japanese gaming stuff.
I mean, it's for Monster Hunter, and it is a Japanese game.
Yeah.
I think I have 8 Monster Hunter shirts.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had one.
2. Yes, 2.
So, anytime it's like Father's Day, which I just got 3 from Father's Day recently, birthdays, any kind of stuff, my wife just goes to the website, Redbubble, and buys me Monster Hunter shirts. So the most recent ones I got, it's like the Jurassic Park symbol, except it's Tigrex in the silhouette instead of the T-Rex. And
awesome.
What was the other one? I don't know. My favorite one is I Steak MH. So it's with the steak is the Monster Hunter, or I Heart. So it's a well done
awesome.
steak. So I well done steak Monster Hunter was our MH. So
I want that shit in my life.
it's on Redbubble, I think. I don't think they
Bread
take them.
bubble.
Yeah, red as in the color, and then bubble.
It's a big shirt site. Something you can hint to Lusu's works. I just linked. He does some great Monster Hunter shirts. That's one of the ones that I've got. I've got the blue one with the red Logia Chris weapons.
Oh, nice. That does look cool.
Yes.
I've got some of the original art for one of the shirts, like the sort of Aztecian style icons, and it's the Japanese quest for Lagiacrus. And it's got the Zenny reward at the bottom and stuff. So.
Cool.
Or Lagiacrus, or however you say it. I don't.
I always said Lagiacrus.
Logia Chris. Yeah, that's what I say.
That's gonna be like a running theme to our podcast. Be like, well, I always said this. I always said that.
Don't worry, World will fix it for whatever monsters are in it.
I'll still say it wrong. You guys correct me how many times on that village?
One of my friends, one of my close friends who plays the game, 2008, so 9 years now, he's been calling it Gypseros. No, sorry. Gypseros is one of the... No, he's been saying Gyseperos.
Whoa. I say Gypseros.
I've corrected it multiple times. That is not the order of the letter.
Yeah. The Kurapeko. Do you guys say it like that?
Kurapeko, yeah.
Kudu, yeah.
And Queer Pecco for the longest time.
Trumpet bird.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That was basically my topic there. So, my question was, crud. Let me find it.
Mix sets.
Yeah, I know what it is, but I wanted to actually see who said it.
Oh, yeah, that's important. Oh, I should look up who said the one I chose.
Yeah, I have it open.
Cheeseburglar.
Oh, yeah, I was looking at that one right there. Okay, so Cheeseburglar, who asked us, what's the most ridiculous mix set you've ever made? Either in the sense that there's a joke or just a ridiculous because there's 8 skills on it. And then he goes on to mention that last week you mentioned Lance, Gun Lance, and Hunter Ammo 3 bottom tier, but not much analysis on the Gun Lance. Do you think the Gun Lance would be better without the heat gauge? Do you think Gun Lance shell should have damage, scale, attack value, or perhaps create more than just 5 levels of shell for more gradation from bottom to top of G rank? And have any of you played Brave heavy bowgun? It's bananas and totally worth the price of admission for double cross. So I'll just address the bottom 2 really quickly because what I really wanted to talk about was the mix set stuff. So have you played Brave heavy bowgun?
Nope.
I have not,
because we haven't imported it. So I think most of us are waiting.
I've heard of Brave in passing, but I don't know much about any of that.
I mean, it takes what I liked about Adept and punches it up. So, but the next one is, talk about the Gun Lance. I think that Generations actually benefited the Gun Lance personally.
No.
And, well, for playstyle for me.
Playstyle maybe.
Yeah.
Actual damage output, it was a nerf.
No, yeah, and I know it was. They actually reduced a lot of the timing and that kind of stuff, but it made it interesting, at least with that heat gauge for me. I never even cared about the Gun Lance until that heat gauge, because it just felt fun to try to get it in the right spot. So it was like
I could never get into Gun Lance even before that. The moveset it was too fluid. It moved you around too much for the way Lance types weapons play. I couldn't.
Yeah, it's hard to get into that cadence of reload and hit and reload and hit. I think they did it a little bit better with 4U and Generations with that sort of cadence between the moves, but it's always felt like a clunky weapon to me anyways.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I do know that the damage output was reduced. It just feels better to me in Generations.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then, so what I really wanted to get into is what's the most ridiculous mix set you've ever made. Now, I've played since the first game, but almost every game I've only used full sets. I've never really mixed and matched until 4U, and I wanted to get some more skills out of my Charge Blade stuff. So I don't remember the particular parts that went into it. I do know that it was using a lot of Azure with Thalos gear in G rank. But basically, I was trying to get like basically all the damage stuff and guard. I really wanted guard. It's a crutch, but I wanted it.
Oh no, it makes a big difference, and you need it for some monsters. Oh, wouldn't even call it a crutch.
Well, I just got the impression that people felt it was a crutch. Again, I was a solo hunter, so I couldn't rely on other aggro because you can't rely on those cats. I have them, but so I used this set that had guard +2, and I think I tried to work in attack up medium, or maybe I only got to be able to do small, but I also got sharpness up, and I don't remember exactly how to do it, but I think the Blue Rathalos got some of that in there, at least the sharpness.
Let's see if I can remember this. Been a while. Celtus X Helm, Grandivar Iron chest, Kujula arms, Grandivar Iron waist, and then either Rathalos X legs or Miralis Droogs for the legs.
That actually sounds really close.
That with a fairly not that hard to get charm would get you Hone Blade, which is sharpness +1 attack up large, Razor Sharp, Artillery Novice, and Guard +2.
Yep, that's what I had. You're awesome, Shady.
I used that a lot, and I recommended it to a lot of people. It was amazing. It was a pretty standard set for Charge Blade.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that was the only one I really got into. I tried to get into it with Generations a bit, but I felt like there really wasn't a lot to work with because it was only high rank, and high rank doesn't have a lot of options as far as like skill customization goes. And I think that was a big weakness of Generations, was not having the G rank. Of course, it isn't part of the normal base expansion cycle. It is the base game, so can't really fault it for being what it's not. But at the same time, it was a drawback for me. That's all I had to say on the
I think
mixed sets.
Like you said, I've never really messed with mixed sets too much. Like I mentioned briefly last week, a lot of my save files have been either corrupted or lost or deleted before I could really, really get into late game. I've dealt mostly personally in full sets, but my one friend made a set recently. I believe it was in low rank Generations, and I think he got the idea from some video he watched, but it was like some sword and shield set that ended up having like status 2, knockout king, maybe like...
Yeah, that was a popular one actually. Arcaz showcased it, I believe.
Yeah. Wait, Eric's?
Oh, yeah, Eric's idol. I thought it was Eric, but yeah, him.
Yeah, that set, I just really enjoyed playing with it. I didn't play with it personally, but having him on my team because it worked just so well.
Oh,
it was pretty.
Did it make it not fun?
Awesome, because like he was using it in like early G rank, but it was a low rank set. Oh, I'm sorry, not G rank, high rank.
Yeah, I did that last week too.
He would like have this death prize weapon sword, and he'd be tearing into him. The monster would be like paralyzed, and then he'd be up on the head, shield bash, shield bash, shield bash, and then like knock it out, and then it'd stand back up, and he's got status 2, so he gets another stun off, lays a trap. Like, it was just so useful, but sadly, eventually outgrew the set.
Yeah, because it is just low rank. Oh, that's cool. Shady, what did you have?
As you would expect, I have done things the optimal way. I got into mixed sets early on in Freedom 2 and was just really into that. I love optimizing and figuring out how things work, the best way to do things, how to get the most I can out of it. Back in Freedom 2, it was Kantar UUSS, mix of Kantar S and Kantar U, and you get sharpness +1, razor sharp, and critical eye +2, I believe it was.
Wow.
Then, yeah, it was really easy to make. And this was before charms. And then Unite nerfed that. It didn't work anymore. But at that point, as an endgame, was using a Cantor. They nerfed the Cantor armor, so you had to mix in Wrath Soul to get those old skills back. I can't remember the mix sets I used because I've used so many. But at some point in Freedom 2, I decided to start making some mix sets based solely on looks. They each had like 1 or 2 skills. And I made this little beauty, which I'm going to link.
Oh, wow.
To describe to our listeners here, it's basically the Kieran armor with a thong. Like,
Yep, that is the Kieran helmet and chest. Male, by the way, so you've got the horse head. The Kezu, this is Gunner, so the Kezu Gunner arm. Red Kezu, so you've got this big pink, fleshy thing on your arm. The Remobra belt, so you've got just this belt with a skull buckle, and then right below that, in nice bright orange, the bone leggings banana hammock.
oh,
Yeah, it's like classic.
I was making sets to look cool. I made like some sharpness +1, some other sets. Then I decided, alright, let's try making one that looks as hideous as I could. And I was looking through it, obviously Kieran, oh, bone, okay, change of plans, gayest set I can make.
oh wow.
Did it end up having any ability?
No, it might have had like 1.
That would have been great if like it had some sick ability.
Wow.
It gives you +10 to sense, so you get sneak.
Oh man.
Definitely have to link that picture in.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think that covers the mix sets.
The Wrath of Gog is the user who posed this question, but the first thing he asks is, a lot of games have gained popularity through YouTubers playing through them. Do you think that with Monster Hunter Worlds becoming more approachable on several big consoles, this could help to increase the fan base? And I was actually talking about this with another friend of mine just the other day, and he was mentioning to me about how much of an influence being able to stream on Twitch influences games popularity. Because with, maybe my assumptions are misplaced here, but like with the rise of League of Legends, esports really exploded a lot. I think that people would, watch a lot of stuff on Twitch there. It really increased the fan base there. And it was kind of like maybe a cyclic effect where the viewers of Twitch increased and people started watching more games, and then some indie games got more popular, and, round and round the wheel goes. But I definitely think that with the games being on consoles, with the PS4's got a share button now. I have a PS4, so I can't speak to the other systems, but I can. On one point, I'm like, oh, this is kind of dumb. We got the share button, but then on the other side, we got the share button, so that's really gonna add to that aspect of the game, and I do believe that it will increase the fan base.
Oh, it's going to be a lot easier to
so.
stream now because you don't have to send your system off $200 or $300 to get a modded 3DS with capture card. You can just get a cheap capture card, run the HDMI into that, and then if you're on PC, it's even easier. So yeah, we're going to see more streaming, and yeah, that's going to help a lot. And we even saw with For You, Capcom got some big name streamers, including Game Grumps, to stream For You and to do videos on that. And I think that helped a lot with the series' popularity.
Yep. Hunting Monsters.
Yeah.
I think it was the name of the Game Grumps show, is Game Grumps Hunting Monsters.
So yeah, I'm sure they're going to push that a lot again, and even just the bigger community, and the ease of streaming, we're going to see a lot of streaming, and that's going to help the community a lot. It's going to get more people stumbling across the videos, finding out about it, taking interest. More people who are curious but unsure, seeing the videos, seeing the gameplay, seeing people having fun in multiplayer, and get into it. So yeah, it's definitely going to help.
Another thing it's going to help is, I don't think that they've showed it yet, but they definitely showed Jen Moran, the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, even though that game is getting a lot of flack from the fighting game community, which is something I follow even though I suck at fighting games. I do follow it, and not a lot of people like that game, but another one of those it's never going to happen situations. Marvel vs. Capcom is getting Monster Hunter in it. So the Hunter is going to be in there. And I think that's going to help too.
One of the devs flat out said, we fought to keep Monster Hunter out of Marvel vs. Capcom. They explicitly said they did not want it in there. And Capcom finally just pushed them over and says, no, it's going to be in there. We need this. We need this.
My money, think about it, but I'm going to guess that it's going to be a Hunter in the traditional Hunter armor with an Agito greatsword.
Probably.
Rathalos is another possible contender, because Lost Planet 2, I think it was, one of the DLC you could get was Rathalos armor, and
yes,
it's the flagship monster. It's a fairly iconic set, and it looks cool. So yeah, Hunter armor, Rathalos armor, those are the big ones that it could be.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I wanted to sort of group in the question from Sage Jonathan, since it's related, and it talks about our favorite YouTubers from Monster Hunter. I do want to say that I think personally for me it's Gaijin Hunter, just because he is, even though he's not always right, but it is interesting to see someone very passionate about the game and do such detailed content.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my favorite is definitely Eric's gaming.
Yep, I watch him too.
He has, whenever I'm trying to get someone, I don't mean to keep harkening back to the same point, but when I try to get people to do weapons, he does the best weapon videos. He breaks the weapon down clearly, concisely, and he explains every aspect you need to know to get a good start on the weapon. Do
you have any favorites, Shady?
I was going to say no, because I don't watch YouTube. Part of that's just due to history of poor internet connections, and still kind of poor internet connections, but I just don't really get into watching people game. But then I remembered there is one person that I do have to give props to, Nigel.
I've not
He did videos in Freedom 2, maybe Freedom 1. I think he did a little bit for Unite. Then he vanished for a bit. He was active on Mindguard, real cool guy.
Okay.
He did the Greatsword guides, how to trivialize Tigrex and all those. He showed you how to use Greatsword with draw charges on these monsters, how to tell, alright, this move, you'll have time to do a charge. He showed you the timing. He told you how much raw you needed in order to stagger monsters in certain quests. He actually went through, showed the math. He showed a bunch of videos just slapping Tigrex around.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I do want to give a shout out to a couple that maybe aren't Monster Hunter specific, but like you mentioned, the Game Grumps. Aaron from the Game Grumps is a huge fan of Monster Hunter. Pro Jared.
I got to meet him recently. It was real cool. Real briefly, he was at Fanime, which West Coast convention, which I was at, and he was there. I just saw him across the way, went over, chatted with him a little bit.
Yep.
Real cool guy, real easygoing with me, nerding out a bit.
Yeah, I was trying to go for the Pro Gerard, the finishist joke that the Game Grumps made, because they're all friends. So there's a funny joke that you combine Pro Jared and Gerard the completionist, and you get Pro Jared the Pro Gerard the finishist. But yeah, Pro Jared is one I'd like to mention, and then Gerard the completionist, the other guy. He has professed that he is a big Monster Hunter fan, but because it's so big, he can't put it on his show. So, one thing also, as I've talked about the co-optional podcast, Dodger and Jesse Cox both like the game. They're not huge fans, but they have talked about the game, and they do talk about it positively. So, even though they're not Monster Hunter specific, I do like all those people. Now, that said, I've mentioned this a little before. I would really like to get any one of these people we mentioned on the show eventually, if we ever get to that point. But I think that would be really cool to hear, especially for someone like Gerard, the completionist, who doesn't get to do that kind of content, and maybe he could come on here and talk about what he likes. So
That'd be cool.
yeah, it would be. I'd look forward to it.
So he said, by the way, I feel the same way about Hammer you do, and I was wondering what your thoughts were on a possibly changed moveset in Monster Hunter Worlds. What would you and would you not change? So I did a couple little notes about what I thought about the Hammer, and I think I broke it down a little bit into what I feel is core to the Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that a few of the Hammer's greatest assets are its mobility. For a big weapon, you really maintain quite a bit of your mobility with it out. You do a lot of the fighting with the weapon out, where with the lance or the greatsword, you need to put it away often. There's lots of rolling involved as well with the Hammer. So if they maintain that aspect, I'm happy. The golf swing after the two, that is where your damage is at getting as many of those in.
I can't believe that Striker Hammer removed that. Why?
Mm-hmm.
It was weak. I never used Striker Hammer for that reason.
Neither did I.
And not even to mention, well, actually I'm going to mention this in a second. So, and the last aspect is the charging, and I've felt that the charge levels of the Hammer, and how they give different, like for instance, the short charge is a really short dash, and it's real short, close range. The middle charge is a sprint with an uppercut. It's a really powerful uppercut. And then the final form has the versatility of using it when mobile or when standing still. So that versatility in the charging really, when you get good at the Hammer, you begin to start to master how you're going to use that and really keep your charges in the level you want them for the distance you're at. And then I thought about the flaws and things that I would like to see changed. And like you mentioned, the hunting styles, how they changed things like that, where Striker style didn't have that full swing, and that really bothered me a lot. Yeah, and the hunter arts were really lackluster.
Oh yeah,
they were just
hitbox on the vertical spin was terrible to hit with.
Yeah, terrible. It never
to be
feels
on
like
top
you
of
hit. I'm like, did I even hit with that one? And then I mean, the horizontal spin one's pretty good. That one wasn't bad. But then provoke, it's like, okay, now the monster's looking at me. Great. What
am I, a tank?
Yeah, exactly. It had its place, but it just was lackluster compared to a lot of the other ones. So I'm not so much upset that they're going to, especially from a Hammer perspective, that they're going to be removing the hunter arts. Is that still?
Yeah, hunter arts and I believe styles also are just gone.
Okay, yeah, I'm not too upset about that, because I really liked getting used to the one style, because that's when I was at my peak of Hammer play.
I enjoyed them. I enjoyed the hunter arts and styles.
Oh, for sure.
But
they're
I don't
fun,
think.
But
I don't think they added too much at the end.
Yeah, they were fun, but I didn't feel like they really fit Monster Hunter that well.
No. To quote myself earlier, looks like stupid anime bullcrap.
Also, terrible balancing, but that's Capcom.
Yeah.
Gunlets!
Oh man.
Cool. They did add for some really cool some like cinematic plays and stuff, like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My one friend and I were talking. One of the best plays that I think we ever had was we're fighting this Astalos, and the Astalos leaves the area. So we go into the next area, and there's this one little tiny ledge. And I said to him, I'm using dual swords, by the way, Shady. So I had the I think it was aerial strike or something, the hunter art. And when you use it, you sprint forward, and if you sprint off a ledge, you like do this cartwheel razor blade spin and impact the monster, and then you kick up into the air straight up, and you come slashing down with this giant powerful slash. And the way it worked out was like, I called it. I said, I'm gonna cut this tail off, and he like ran off to the side and directed its attention. I sprinted off the ledge, kicked the tail, flinched the monster, shot up in the air, and came down and just cleaved the tail clean off, perfectly at the spot. Everything. I like dang near threw my DS up in the air and just absolute pure hype.
Drop the mic. Just walk away.
Exactly. It was just. Those are the things. That's the reason we play. That's the reason we all play Monster Hunter. Right there is moments like that where you just like flipping out because it was so awesome.
I actually play it for the monsters myself, but
yeah. All right. Well, Shady, you want to get into your topic?
All right. The user Cantus file asked, could you go into how you stay level-headed with so many identical questions surfacing all the time? And yeah, that's been a really recurring theme in the Monster Hunter communities for as long as I've been in them. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of questions in Monster Hunter that get asked a lot, because so much is obscured, it's so hard. So you see the same questions come up repeatedly. Often there'll be simpler ones too, like, where do I get this item? And so a lot of people will get upset seeing the same one as, could please just use a search bar, search. I don't know, it's just never bothered me that much, but I guess it's partly because I love answering questions, so even if I've answered it before, I can answer this again. And if I've answered it a ton of times, I've got a copy paste. I can just copy and paste right in there. It's easy. It's not a big deal. I'd rather have someone asking a question that's been asked a dozen times than some terrible post or more arguing.
Oh, arguing's the worst. When I first became a mod to this subreddit, I noticed you were always making comments, and anytime there was a question or something, you were always there. So I don't know if you recall it, but way back when I tried to get you like some kind of distinction on the subreddit, and I tried to get you like a little book icon or something next to your name. Yeah.
Yeah, and then at one point I said, "Oh, I'm gonna change my my flare text because I've had a new idea on something I want to put into it," and then suddenly the icon is gone because only a mod could edit the flare and keep that. Whoops.
Yeah, I've always wanted to give the mods a sort of flair to sort of single us out, but as I've been on the moderation wheel a little longer, I think not having a specific flair helps because there are times where we're interacting with the community not as a mod, and I don't want to. I mean, we might get a name recognition, but having a flair might be that little bit too much on the mod side because it's like, oh, it's a mod saying this, that means we all mean that as a sub. And I'm like, no, sometimes it's just my own personal opinion.
Yeah. So it's nice to be able to blend into and just go back to being just a plain old hunter.
Yep. Anytime that I'm commenting, and I comment a lot, that not as a mod, I don't distinguish it, but you've seen me distinguish a lot more recently because we've had to do a lot more of that moderation thing recently. Cool. I didn't really have much. It was pretty much directed at Shady, so.
Yeah. And the big other thing is you just have to keep in mind that it's just someone asking for help, and they're quite often feeling lost, and this is the last ditch effort to find out how that works. So you just have to remember, they're just someone trying to get help.
Yep.
Just
That's
help
what we're
them.
here for. I think that does it for us. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time.